Welcome back. Next, we travel to Nigeria, where Nexim, the Nigerian Export Import Bank, is facilitating the growth of small and medium enterprise by providing finance to build export capacity and increase local job creation. We also meet Issa Faye of the African Development Bank and Mojisola Akpogio of UNDP Nigeria.
Our role is trying to foster inclusive growth, to foster green growth, and make sure that this economic transformation happens in Africa. And the public sector alone cannot do it all. The public sector can be a facilitator, making the environment, making sure that the investment climate is conducive for doing business. And the business now has to take it up to the next level. It needs to produce the goods and the services and make sure that everyone's have access to different opportunities. So the business is really at the core of development. And we know the private sector account for about 90% of job creation in Africa. So you need to create jobs to make sure that people have access to opportunities, that people can have regular incomes and increase the demand, and then the private sector can thrive.
RIGS Ventures West Africa was started in Nigeria in 1998 to produce agricultural bags for local sales and later for export to Benin and Ivory Coast. With financial support from the Nigerian Export Import Bank, RIGS have now expanded their capacity and their product range to include cement and industrial bags as well. Because the supply gap is huge, the company is currently still catering to local demand, but plans to commence exporting to neighboring West and Central African countries in the near future.
I imported the first set of machinery from China. Unfortunately, I realized that the technology is not good enough. I therefore decided to look for some machineries from the West.
In other countries, you sort of have where the government encourages manufacturing and then banks give you like a long-term loan and then they help you out. In Nigeria, that isn't readily available. So you don't have such regulations and rules that help promote the manufacturing sector. So it's quite difficult.
I was able to secure a $10 million facility, and I brought in the state-of-the-art machinery, which increased my production capacity from 9 million bags to 69 million bags. Without the support of Nigerian Export Import Bank, it would have been almost impossible to do that in Nigeria.
Nigerian Export Import Bank is government trade policy bank that is mandated to help the government diversify its investments from oil to non-oil. So Nexim chose to concentrate in what we call the mass sectors of the Nigerian economy, namely these: manufacturing for export, agri-processing for export, solid minerals extraction for export, and provision of services. RIGS is actually a company that is devoted to production of polypropylene bags.
The main challenge would be power, the issue of power in Nigeria. Power instability, so that the cost of actually producing your own power, like running generators, is astronomically high.
For example, in my factory right now, the public power supply is the backup. The main power supply is from the generators, which are run at very, very huge cost. Apart from that, there is also the dearth of skilled manpower. We have a lot of people that are educated here, but they do not have the technological know-how. There is also the issue of multiple taxation, and lastly, the issue of sourcing funds.
Everyone's trying to go away from oil and looking for clean fuel and other alternative forms of energy. So if the world is going in that direction, the demand for oil is obviously going to drop. In Nigeria, we can't just base our economy on just oil exports.
Right now, 98% of our export is on oil. You can only create jobs by getting into the risk sectors of the economy. Like what I'm doing, I'm employing about 500 people. Most people in oil exports, they are in much higher volume, yet they are not employing people. And we need to diversify this economy.
I mean, Nigeria, we have very intelligent people. We can do anything. But we need that support from the government. If the government can give us that support through rules and regulations, and also regarding to the regulatory policies with the banks, that will help drive business development.
The role of central bank now is not just limited to a sound financial system. It's also looking at how do we finance real growth, how do we intervene in those sectors that we believe are very key to our economic development. Like in Nexim, for instance, a greater proportion of our lending is to the SMEs. Almost 80% is to the SMEs. Have the capacity to generate foreign exchange, create wealth for Nigerians, reduce poverty. So they are actually the engine of growth. We have sectors, apart from oil, that have very high growth potentials. We talk about solid minerals, for instance. We have about 34 solid minerals in commercial quantities. Yet, as we speak now, it is contributing less than 1% to our GDP. So what does that tell us? That huge potentials that have not even been scratched.
I started by operating the quarry. So we are involved in the dimension stone business, where we are processing granite into building finishes. Oil is not the only resource that we have in Nigeria. We have a lot of mineral resources, and granite is one of them, and it is in abundance in the country. It's difficult to secure funding, especially from the commercial banks, because of the tenure, which is very short, and then the interest rates are also very high. We have received Nexim facilities on several occasions. The tenure is longer, and also the interest rate is a single-digit interest rate. Nexim funded our expansion program, which involves a new block cutter, edge polishing machine, and the crane. And that has gone a long way in improving the quality of our products, in increasing our volume of production. Presently, we provide employment for almost 90 people, and many people are learning in the granite business, which is new in Nigeria. Most of our staff have gone on training even abroad, in Italy, in China, in Spain. For now, we are not exporting because we are unable to meet the local production, but we are planning to export in future, starting from the West African region. We are also planning to export the blocks to Europe. In 5 years, we want to increase our production by almost 3 times our present capacity.
We cannot fulfill our mandate if we don't help the government to create jobs, because a country that has most of its population under 30, it will be a ticking time bomb if you don't get your acts together to create jobs amply for this segment of the population.
Bono Hotels is entirely owned by the state government. Luxurium's role is to manage the hotel most effectively for the state government.
Nexim contributed around $400,000 to the renovation of the state-owned Benue hotels, which started in 2012. Once the facilities upgrade is complete, many local jobs will be created for unemployed youth, and these new staff members will attend hospitality training courses. The hotel will also facilitate domestic tourism and business travel, and will provide extensive benefit to the local economy.
You know very well the number of workers that you require to run a hotel. Hotels are the anchor for tourists, for the tourist industry. And Luxurium is in Benue State, Makurdi, and it's not too far away from Abuja.
We have the challenges of non-availability of power supply, because companies have to rely entirely on their generator and the cost of diesel. And also, another challenge is that we don't have internet services in most of the hotels in the country. And then, most of the tourist attractions are not being developed. The government should encourage these industries to grow and not impose so many taxes on them.
We are in business to build, to help grow the SMEs, and then they become very attractive to commercial banks if they still need to be taking facilities. Now, this is a revolving kind of scheme. We are trying to ensure that we are not just in business for today, but we are setting up very strong bridges for people to cross into the future.
Nigeria's economy right now is actually experiencing very good growth. In the past decade, it's been at about 7%, and 70% of us live in the rural areas. And it is no secret to say that the infrastructure in the rural area is very, very poor and non-existent. There's very little access to markets as a result. The state of healthcare is abysmal, to say the least. We have challenges with maternal mortality. We have challenges with child mortality. Our education indices are plummeting, and all of us definitely are very, very poor indices when it comes to economic growth. UNDP is that there's very strong collaboration and partnerships with government institutions to ensure that many of those factors are addressed. So we're designing new programs every day. We're talking to governments, we're talking to civil society organizations to get them to start to work together, make a concerted effort towards translating the current boosting economy to real growth for the people. The country is now ready to open up their economy, particularly to foreign investment. And above all, they're ready to start to look at reforms, ensuring that they increase the numbers of intermediaries that ensures that buyers and sellers are actually able to meet and conduct business. One of the key initiatives is the Growing Inclusive Market Initiative, and there is the one that we have in Nigeria, which I coordinate, the Facility for Inclusive Markets. What that is all about is actually working with the private sector, developing the private sector, raising their promoting advocacy and raising awareness around the need to incorporate people at the bottom of a pyramid into economic activities, creating a space for them, so to speak, to play, and also ensuring that services and public services and goods are provided in the way that poor people can also access.
Thank you to all our contributors on today's show. Join us next month on Tuesday, the 10th of September, as we bring you news stories of inclusive business across the continent. But for now, thanks for watching.